Hi, everyone. This will be a recording showing you all how to run the student records file within SOAR. So once you log into SOAR, you will click on the navigation bar, menu, and you're going to scroll down to USM Institutional Research. You will then click on Process and then IR. You likely will not see as many files here as I do, but you should see a file that says Student Records File, and you'll click on that one. Now, if that pathway did not work or you did not have access to a part of that pathway, please reach out to our office with any questions. You can email our listserv, which is ir@usm.edu. All right, so to run the student records file, the first thing you need is a run control ID. This is to run any process within IR. So if you are familiar with running processes in IR, you can use the same run control ID that you always use. For me, on a daily basis, I typically use my initials CT. Now, if you've never run a process within SOAR, you will need to add a new value up here. So for the purpose of this video, I am going to add a new value and I'm going to use IR. Again, this is basically just a dummy variable. It's just telling the system who is running the process. All right, you'll click add and then the student records file will populate. So the only field that you have to enter is the term. Now, if you are unfamiliar with term codes, if you are in the data literacy program, there is a file in the Canvas shell that will tell you the term codes. If you are not in the data literacy program and you're not familiar with term codes, you can just, of course, click the magnifying glass and search for the term that you want to run this file for. So let's say that I want to run it for the current term. We are currently in fall of 2024, so that's going to be 4251. Once you type it in, the description will pop up so you can verify that you typed in the correct code. Now, that's all that you have to type in. So if I want to run this file for students currently enrolled in fall of 2024, all I would do now is click Run. But let's say I don't want the file for all students at the institution during the term. I just want undergraduate students, or I just want graduate students. Let's say I just want my college, my school, my discipline. You get the point, right? You can filter, but again, these are all optional. So let's say that I want to look at undergraduate students on the Gulf Coast campus. I could do that so that when I run this file, it's only going to populate undergraduate students enrolled in an academic program on the Gulf Coast campus because campus is associated with academic program. Now, keep in mind that the filters are not going to minimize based on prior filters. Okay, so make sure because we've had employees email before and say, well, I ran it, but my file is blank. Well, that's because their filters did not match up. For instance, if I want undergraduate students on the Gulf Coast campus, and let's say I selected anthropology, well, my file is going to be blank because the anthropology academic program is not housed on the Gulf Coast campus. Okay, so there's not an undergraduate student enrolled in the anthropology discipline on the Gulf Coast campus because that does not exist. Okay, so do keep that in mind if you filter it before you run it. Now, again, let's say I didn't want to filter here. I want to run for all students during the fall 2024 semester. I would just leave it all blank, regardless how you want to do those filters, or if you want to leave them blank. You'll then click Run, and the Process Scheduler Request box will pop up. Over here under Format, you want to make sure that it is a CSV format. That way you can pull up the file in Excel and filter as needed. Okay, so once you have it set to a CSV format, you'll click OK. And now you have scheduled that process. So to wait on that process to finish running, you will click on Process Monitor. And you'll notice here the process that we just ran, the status is processing, and the distribution says NA, of course, because it is still processing. Now, if you run it for all students, it's likely going to take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, just depending on how busy the system is, how many other processes are being run through SOAR at the time that you run it as well. Now you'll click on refresh, but like I said, if you run it for all students, give it a few minutes. So once it is finished processing and you click refresh, it will say success posted. So this is one that I ran prior to recording this video so that we wouldn't have to obviously sit here and wait on that one to process. So once it says success and posted, you'll sales. And again, to know whether it says success and posted, you do have to click this refresh button up here. Okay, so basically give it a few minutes and then click refresh until it says success and posted. Then you'll click on details, and down here at the bottom, you'll click on view log trace, and then you'll see your CSV file. So you'll click that CSV file, and then of course it will download. All right, and then you'll click on that download and you'll have your file in Excel. For the purpose of this video, I went ahead and downloaded one and just blacked out some student information so that it's not being shown on this video. But you will see students' actual IMPL ID. Okay, I just made up these numbers again for the sake of this video, and then I blacked out students' names and their phone numbers. But again, it will not be blacked out when you download the file. You'll see their career over here. So again, if you only ran it for undergraduate students, then all you should see is undergraduate students. There are a lot of demographic variables that are run: birth date, sex, age, ethnicity, citizenship status. Residency will simply tell you if a student is a Mississippi resident or not. So if they're not, you'll just see where it says no or yes. Academic load, that'll tell you if they're full-time or part-time. Now, one thing you'll want to keep in mind when you run this process is if you're running it for the current term, what point in the term are you running it? And what I mean by that is I ran it for fall of 2024, right? And we are still at the very beginning of this term. Therefore, that's why this field is blank, because students have not completed the fall 24 term. So their term GPA is blank. Now, if I would have run this for spring of 24, the students would have a term GPA because that term is complete. Cumulative GPA, again, keep in mind, this is going to be their cumulative GPA as of the end of the prior term. So this is basically students' cumulative GPA as of the end of summer of 2024. Their current hours, so that's how many hours they're currently enrolled in. Admit term, again, that's those term codes. Primary campus, so again, remember that campus is associated with the student's academic program. So you have the students, all of their primary, basically their primary major, there's all of the information. So it's college, school, discipline, program, and plan, and their advisor information. Then you'll notice that it goes into secondary. So if students have a secondary major, that information will populate as well. Now I'm going to scroll through address information real quick just so it's not shown on the video. Their student's email again will be listed there. I blacked it out again just for the sake of this video. There are fields over here at the end, such as whether or not a student lives on campus, and then a student's military affiliation. Again, keep in mind when you run this process. So we're still at the beginning of fall of 2024. Some of these fields are still going through our quality control processes, meaning that they may or may not be accurate because data has not been labeled official yet. So we won't have official data until likely about the end of November because our census date for the fall for reporting official data is November 1st. And then it usually takes a few weeks to get that back, and IHL will tell us that that data is then official. But again, if you ran this student records file for a term in the past, all of this will be official data. Okay, but if you are running it for a current term, then it is live data. So if you have a question about live or frozen census data, again, you're welcome to reach out to our office. We also offer a data literacy program that is excellent for our campus community to just understand institutional data. All right, so that is how you run student records file. Again, if you've run processes before and you did not need to add a new value, or you run this process again, say this was your first time to do it, and you run this process again in December at the end of the semester. Well, you wouldn't need to add a run control ID, you would just use the same one. So I used IR, I'm going to type it in right there in the search bar, and there's my run control ID. Okay, so you do not have to add a new value every time you run a process. You can use the same run control ID on a daily basis. Like I said, I just use CT for running all of my processes within SOAR. Our office just typically uses our initials. Again, it's basically a dummy variable. You can do it however you want to. So again, that is running student records file. If you have questions, please reach out to our office. Our listserv again is ir@usm.edu. Have a great day.